Secretary, I'll come back to you. A lot's been said lately about until we get this under control, until there's some real meaningful long-term solution, just shut down the border completely. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that's what President Trump's and the team is doing, right? They're using the authorities that they have to make sure that they protect the American people. So the national emergency, a 212F order, all the things that they're doing now are things that could have been done the last 4 years under President Biden, right? They chose not to do that from just the sheer will of not wanting to go in a certain direction. So we hear a lot of talk about, comprehensive immigration reform, which is like the worst term I've ever heard. But I think what the Republican Congress needs to do now is look at all the actions that President Trump and his team are putting in place, and how do you codify that into law so that if you do have a different president from a different party, that they're just not going to undo everything. And so Congress really needs to take a good look at what's being done here, put it into law so that we don't have the chaos of the last 4 years that we had under President Biden at that border, because that's what will happen if we don't get a lot of this just enshrined into law. Executive authority is great because you can do it quickly, you can do it fast. I'm just worried in 4 years when President Trump leaves office and it's not a Republican and a conservative that has an enforcement mindset, what is that border going to look like? And so that's where I would push the Republican Congress to do, obviously we can get a lot of infrastructure. I know we're building wall. There's a maritime buoy going in South Texas. There's a lot of stuff that President Trump's doing today, but you got to get it codified into law.
And they've really not in Congress done anything to codify any of these actions. I mean, let's just be clear. You came in and it's almost like you have the Trump administration has gone 100 miles a minute on all this stuff. Everything but the kitchen sink to move the country in the right direction. Congress is like almost the opposite. Like they're on a 2-week vacation right now. They haven't voted to codify. They haven't successfully codified a single executive order. We were talking about the border wall. They just passed a continuing resolution, Republicans' votes, that did not provide 1 cent for the border wall. It was just a continuation of Biden's spending from last year. That's all it was. USAID, they go on cable news, oh, this is so bad, and yet they voted to fully fund AID. Now, President Trump's not going to probably allow some of these grants to go out, which is great, but why wouldn't Congress at least do that? I mean, DOJ is doing all this stuff. So I think that they've not shown any inclination to do what Chad is saying needs to be done. And what will happen is you will absolutely see all that go up in smoke if a new president comes in 29 that doesn't agree with these policies. It'll happen like that. So, you got to start to think strategically. You got to start to think more long term. And it's great to see what's happened at the border for it to go down by 96, 98%, whatever, in 2 months when they said you needed some convoluted bill to be able to secure the border. That was obviously a lie, but it's been proven to be a lie. But you can just as easily reopen the border like Biden did. I mean, he reopened the border. He was flying people in. They were literally going to foreign countries and flying people in to the country and dumping them all over the United States. And that happened for 4 years. So we've got to get this into law. And I think Congress really needs to be way, way more aggressive than what they've been so far.